Thank you very much. You may now sit down. I was still struggling to find out if this is a national anthem, so I was about to tell you to stand up. So, Your Excellency Adriano Marian, Prime Minister of the Republic of Mozambique, Professor Njuguna Ndungu, former Cabinet Secretary of the National Treasury and Economic Planning of the Republic of Kenya, and outgoing Chairperson of TDB Group, Board of Governors. Your Excellency Ernesto Tonela, Minister of Economy and Finance of the Republic of Mozambique, TDB Group incoming Chairperson and Host Governor. Your Excellency Dazan Manik, Mayor of the City of Maputo, Your Excellency Albert Mochanga, Chairperson for Trade and Industry, African Union Commission, Excellencies, Honorable Ministers and Governors of TDB Group, Admasu Tadese, Group President and Managing Director of Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Group, Dr. Akinome Adesina, President of the Republic, President of the African Development Bank, distinguished guests, members of the media, TDB Management Group, all protocols observed. Bon dia, good morning. I would like to warmly welcome you all to the 2024 Annual General Meeting of the TDB Group Board of Governors, which we have the immense honor to have opened today by His Excellency Adriano Marian. Thank you very much for honoring us. Our appreciation goes to the Minister of Economy and Finance of the Republic of Mozambique and His Excellency Ernesto Tonera, Minister of Economy and Finance of the Republic of Mozambique, for hosting this year's AGM. Thank you very much for hosting us. We enjoyed last night. We had yesterday our special distinguished speakers talk about agility, innovation, and we saw the dancing. It was all about synergy, agility, and creativity. Thank you very much. Mozambique has been a member since 2026. Since Mozambique joined the bank, TDB has been a forefront supporting the country aligned to the core sectors of development, namely infrastructure, oil and gas, midstream, downstream, financial institutions, agriculture, processing, and more pipeline to come. So, Prime Minister, I promised that I will learn Portuguese, and I did. So I want to, for the benefit of the Mozambicans here, I'm going to say something on the impact our bank has done to this country. O bank TDB,
the bank TDB support the sectors, the infrastructure, energy, agriculture banks contributing, generating to the country.
Your Excellency, your bank, which has transformed into a group, as you hear from our distinguished speakers, including our President, who will explain more at length today the transformation of the group, is now 39 years old and will be celebrating 40 years next year. I'm proud to say that our spirit of innovation and reforms implemented over the last 10 years under the leadership of the President, Admasu Tadesse, these innovation and reforms have empowered us to drive more economic, social, environmental impact, which now encompasses 25 states across a vast continent. This was not made impossible thanks to the many people who are here today, our shareholders, board of directors, our partners and clients. Your support is always greatly appreciated. I now have the honor and pleasure of inviting to the stage His Excellency Rozak Manik, the Mayor of the city of Maputo, to give his remarks. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency Adriano Afonso Maulian, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Mozambique, Your Excellency Max Elias Tonella, the Minister of Economy and Finances, Your Excellency the State of Maputo, Excellency Mr. Juguna Mabumbu, the Chairman of TDB Group, Honorable ladies and gentlemen, with the permission of Your Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Mozambique, we have the pleasure to welcome for the 40th General Meeting of TDB Group. It's a great honor to receive so great invitees in our city of Acacias for this event that puts together specialists and people that are very related to finances in Southern Africa. Mozambique is the host of this meeting. It is a very important point. Throughout years, this institution has been a great role for the economical growth and sustainable for Southern and Austral Africa, and also especially for our city. This meeting gave us opportunity, which is unique, in order to discuss and learn and collaborate in order to have the member states' economical growth, and especially for our Maputo city where the event is being held. We are very eager that throughout the discussion, which is constructive, we will be able to face the challenges that are presented and use the new investment opportunities. Distinguished invitees, we are very excited to share our hospitality with all linkages present here. Maputo is a very vibrating city, rich in cultural and history. We expect that you use your free time to enjoy the gastronomy that we have here in our city of Acacias and Jacarendas. us. Together we are going to embrace Maputo, our beautiful city. Thank you for your attention.
Muito obrigado. May I have the pleasure now to introduce our group president and managing director, Mr. Admasu Tadesi, to give his statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Madame Kamari, Master of Ceremonies. Your Excellency, Adriano Afonso Malian, Prime Minister of the Republic of Mozambique, Professor Njuguna Ndungu, former Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury of the Republic of Kenya, outgoing Chairperson of the Board of Governors, Your Excellency Ernesto Tonella, Minister of Finance of the Good Republic of Mozambique, and our esteemed incoming Chairperson of the Board of Governors, and other ministers and governors of TDB Group present. And in this regard, I'd like to recognize the Honorable Musukotwane Sitombeko, Minister of Finance of Zambia. Thank you, sir, for joining us here alongside other ministers. We have Minister Odash from the Ministry of Finance of Burundi. We have the Honorable Samareta, State Minister of Finance of Ethiopia. We have Tessie, State Minister of Finance of Rwanda. Delighted to have the Secretary of the Treasury of the Ministry of Finance of Zimbabwe, Mr. Guva Matanga. And of course, we have our Senior Vice President and strategic shareholder from the African Development Bank, represented by Swazi Shabalala. And another very important shareholder here, represented by Madame Shuo from the People's Bank of China, the People's Republic of China. And of course, from our very special member from Europe, Denmark, we have Morten here. Thank you very much, Morten, also for being here in person. He's the Vice President of IFU. We do have a special occasion also to greet 6 new shareholders that joined last year that are today part of this community of shareholders, and we would like to salute the Republic of Botswana, the Republic of Ghana, and the Republic of Senegal, who are new shareholders, and we have governors from those new member states. Also very pleased to recognize the 3 new institutional shareholders who joined us last year from Tanzania, the National Social Security Fund, from Mauritius, the Global Fund of the State Insurance Company of Mauritius, and the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Rwanda, known as Agaciro Development Fund. I'm also pleased to recognize His Worship, Mr. Manhik, Mayor of the City of Maputo, ambassadors, high commissioners present, partners, clients, TDB staff and executives present. Good morning, bon dia, bonjour, ahlan wa sahlan. At the outset, I would like to express our very sincere greetings to His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Mozambique, for honoring us here with his presence. At these annual meetings, we have a special history with this beautiful country and with your good self. Your wisdom, your foresight in facilitating TDB's entry into Mozambique is always remembered and deeply appreciated. I'd also like to express our sincere appreciations for the warm welcome by the people in government, the Republic of Mozambique, and in particular, our host governor here in the name of Minister Tonella. Madame Kamari mentioned the cultural soiree we had last night. It was so spirited, so enjoyable. I'm sure everybody will agree with me that we left last night with a very electric buzz about us. preparing us for a very productive and constructive engagement today. It was excellent timing for us to have the soiree last night because it coincided with a landmark decision that took place in London where an important ruling was made in favor of Mozambique on a very long-standing contestation involving a very difficult saga for many years. We're delighted that the ruling came in favor of Mozambique. It's a multiple billion-dollar ruling, 3.1 billion from what I had heard, and this really sets the stage for further recovery and further strengthening of the finances of Mozambique. So congratulations, Mr. Prime Minister, and to your government. For us, of course, we have a particular interest in Mozambique, not just because it's a great country, but because it's a strategically located country in this sub-region. It is one of the gateways of this sub-region. It plays an important role in facilitating the competitiveness and connectivity of several other member states of TDB that are in this sub-region. And we look forward to playing an important integration role in Southern Africa on this part of the Indian Ocean. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to present you the results of our outcome for the previous financial year, 2023. It has been a very tough macroeconomic environment, as many of you will know, characterized by high interest rates, high inflation, currency devaluations, elevated deficits, both on the current account and the fiscal account, and negative resource outflows from our region. It's been indeed a very challenging operating environment, but we're very pleased to report here today that our total assets during this period managed to grow by 21% year on year, and our total assets finally crossed the $10 billion mark for the first time in 40 years. Similarly, our total equity, including reserves, rose robustly by 13% to $2.2 billion US. And on the back of that, of course, we are very happy to report that our net profits also grew by a robust 11% to a historic level of $230 million, generating an attractive return on equity of 11.1% to shareholders. Anybody who deals with financial institutions knows that profits is not the only important thing. What's also very important is quality of assets. And we're very pleased that despite these very challenging conditions in the region, we've managed to contain our non-performing loans to 3.6%, and we've managed to keep our capital adequacy levels at 35%. And as a result, we've managed to maintain our credit ratings. We continue to enjoy investment-grade credit ratings. In their assessment, the credit rating agencies, Moody's and Fitch and GCR, based in South Africa, highlighted our strong capitalization and our dynamic use of credit enhancement and risk mitigation instruments. The rating agencies highlighted our strong governance and risk management, our track record, and our diversified funding sources, including very high-quality liquidity buffers that have proven to be very valuable in these complex times. Through our various group operations across both our subsidiaries and strategic business units, we continue to deliver on our important mandate, providing timely and targeted financing solutions in the areas of trade, infrastructure finance, and enterprise finance to sovereigns, but also to financial institutions, and importantly, SMEs as well. The trade finance segment, which is the leading segment in our total balance sheet, targets inter and intra-African trade and has a focus on financial, food, and energy security. And that segment grew by 10% year on year, resulting in a cumulative trade finance portfolio of $4.9 billion. Another segment, the project and infrastructure finance segment, also continued to grow. This segment grew by 8% year on year to a cumulative level of $2.18 billion. In this dimension, which we know is very important and transformational, we've continued to put emphasis on clean, accessible, and efficient energy, while also keeping in mind the importance of other infrastructure sectors and also industrialization and agricultural development. We continue to roll out targeted facilities, and here notably I'd like to point out the regional infrastructure finance facility that we have, which is uniquely supported by a $415 million facility from the World Bank's IDA window. We're also very pleased that very recently we signed an additional $300 million facility from that same window of the World Bank Group to support access to energy and to clean cooking solutions for households. Across both banking segments of trade finance and project and infrastructure finance, we closely worked with a number of partners. We co-financed, we led, and we participated in syndications with partner banks, local and foreign, as well as other MDBs. And we shared risk in a very innovative way on both a funded and unfunded basis. This is a very strategic business area that I'd like to now talk about, which is asset management. The asset management area of TDB Group is focused on the design, origination, and growth of special purpose investment vehicles with particular investors and partners. In this space, our fund management company called ISATAL has continued to grow the flagship trade finance fund called ISATAF, which focuses on commodity finance and export finance. This fund has been quite a success story in recent years, and it has grown threefold since its launch in 2019. Its assets under management closed at $146 million and is now well en route to hitting the $200 million mark this year. The fund's 12-month return was 9.02%, surpassing the benchmark it has of 1 month plus 3%. This fund has delivered an absolute return of 25.7% in US dollars since its launch in August 2019. In this relation, I'm very pleased to recognize our strategic partner in this fund, which is Badia, the Arab Bank for Development in Africa. They are a shareholder of the bank, but they're also a strategic anchor and hold about 40% shareholding in our trade finance fund. And we're very pleased that since co-anchoring this fund and launching it with Badia, we have 10 new shareholders that have joined. And just very recently, we've welcomed new shareholders from Kenya, from Zimbabwe, and we're very pleased that the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Rwanda also joined. We salute Badia as a very valued strategic partner in this space of asset management. Funds like ISATAF on our asset management platform are poised to grow and widen with other strategic partners, notably with the World Bank Group, with whom we're considering new special purpose vehicles to advance targeted financing in high priority sectors such as e-mobility and green housing. Let me turn to another TDB Group subsidiary, the TDB Captive Insurance Company, TCI. TCI successfully completed its second year of full operations in 2023. It provides risk insurance and reinsurance cover for TDB Group, driving further efficiencies in the group's risk management space. And in this regard, we're very pleased that it now covers 12 of our member states, helping us manage and distribute risk And in the process of doing that, it generated net profits of $4.68 million, representing an exciting return on equity of 15% US dollar terms. Another entity in TDB Group, which is our Concessional Trade and Development Fund, is also growing with new strategic partnerships in the making. TDF was set up as a special window to attract deeply concessional funding and grants in some instances for particular types of operations that is not suitable for bank finance. Areas of note here is blended finance, early stage project preparation in partnership with others such as Africa 50, technical assistance, and special programs such as our flagship SME program that's been in operation for a few years. We should be launching a green project preparation facility in relation to our new green shares, which we will be elaborating on during the closed sessions. The Trade and Development Fund has a number of board members who have played an important role in this past few years, and I'd like to recognize two of those board members who are here today. They're seated in the front row over there. We have Mozambique's own Isabel Sumar and Professor Oliver Sasa from Zambia, who's the chairman of the Trade and Development Fund board. Thank you both for being part of this pioneering journey of Trade and Development Fund. I'd now like to turn to one or two things that also speaks to our hearts as Africans. We know capacity building is very important. We have an academy that's also quite young, which is partly funded by TDF. Our academy has state-of-the-art conferencing facilities in our TDB towers, and it has continued to spearhead very select, targeted capacity building interventions in areas that are relevant and closely related to our competencies and our comparative advantages as TDB Group. One notable capacity building intervention during the period under review was a training program on PPPs, public-private partnerships, and related matters such as procurement in PPPs, risk allocation in PPPs, and how to handle ESG considerations, environmental, social, and governance factors, that is, in the context of the all-important energy infrastructure. This program covered 70 public sector lawyers from 23 countries across the continent. The specialized training was held, importantly to mention here, with a strong relationship we've built up with the Africa Legal Support Facility, which, as some of you will know, is based at the African Development Bank in Abidjan. The AFDB was instrumental in the emergence of this important facility, which is a standalone institution in many ways, and we've now joined their membership and doing joint capacity building in a number of areas. This area of PPP training was a second capacity building intervention organized with the ALSF, and we're very pleased to be planning to do more. In this regard, I'd like to recognize the excellent work done by Mr. David Bambango, one of our group vice presidents, who spearheaded this with the ALSF. And in the same vein, I should mention the important work done by Joy Ntare, who is our other group vice president, who's sitting right next to Mr. Bambango. As you will have noted, ladies and gentlemen, we have evolved into a development finance group which has enabled us to significantly expand our impact and deepen our reach in areas of our mandate, as well as to enhance sustainability with non-commercial operations, which is expected of MDBs and public sector-orientated institutions. The strategic growth of our group allows us to optimize our institutional positioning, our offerings, and also attract new partners that are not willing to necessarily partner with the banking business as such. In just a few years, our subsidiaries, the Trade Finance Fund ISATAF, TDF, our Academy, TCI, are attracting many new partners to the group and making important contributions not only to our net income, but to the impact we have in different areas and collectively improving the development character of the institution as a whole. We have a D in our name with a Trade and Development Bank. The D has to be felt in the marketplace and amongst our partners and stakeholders. And so that is why we are trying to do more outside of the normal commercial operations that we've always been quite good at. Just a few words on resource mobilization and the debt environment. Of course, we are not a retail bank. We don't take deposits. So as a wholesale financial institution, it's very important that we raise wholesale financing. And I'm very pleased to say that we raised several sustainability-linked facilities with strategic partners during 2023, and similarly tapped into syndicated loan markets when the capital markets were closed. And we managed to crowd in $2.3 billion of private sector financing onto the debt side of our balance sheet. And as much as we like cost-effective financing on the debt side, equity capital is just as important. And we're pleased to report that despite the adverse conditions, TDB Group's shareholders continue to demonstrate their confidence in the institution. For instance, Djibouti's pension fund, Caisse Nationale de Sécurité Sociale, CNSS, which I believe is here, increased its investment in our Class B shares for the third time in a row. And at the same time, our existing shareholders recapitalized their dividends as they have been doing for many years. And this was a record level of recapitalization that we had in the year under review. We also expanded our reach in other areas of equity, notably in the area of green and sustainable financing, and we onboarded Class C Green Plus shares, which demonstrates our continued commitment to the Paris Agreement and to the SDG agenda. We have set the stage to attract further impact investors in this new asset class within our capital structure, and it is important here to recognize the pioneering role that the African Development Bank had in helping us establish this new asset class within our equity space. So thank you, Swazi Shabalala and the African Development Bank Group. This is not the first time you've been playing a pioneering role. You did that with our Class B shares about 8-9 years ago when we introduced that segment in our capital structure. AFDB and our good friends from the Central Bank of China, the PBOC, were instrumental in helping us open up that new segment. Today we have almost 20 institutional investors in the Class B segment, and the Class C segment, especially in the green area, is also looking very promising. Of course, it's important to mention that even though we are introducing green equity into our capital, it doesn't mean that this is the beginnings of our commitment. We've always been very committed to ESG principles. We've always had a strong adherence to performance and corporate governance standards, notably those that we know are very mainstream from the IFC. So we've always been very committed, but of course, we live in challenging times, we live in dynamic times. We see climate change becoming more and more serious, and in this regard, I'm pleased to share that we concluded our updated climate finance strategy in 2023 in relation to our new green equity shares. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude my report, I'd like to observe the tradition we've had for many years and announce a corporate social responsibility grant to a deserving project, to a very important cause here in Mozambique, where we're holding our annual meetings. We're honored to support the hamlet and community of Salane in the district of Mapai, Gaza province, through the Funai solar pump water irrigation project. This project addresses some critical challenges faced by this community due to climate change, including the seasonal nature of their primary water source and the high costs and environmental impact of their use of diesel water pumps. By providing a solar water pump, additional water shortage tanks, and irrigation infrastructure, this modest project will enhance food security, increase household incomes, and empower women economically. This project is expected to improve the quality of life of 1,570 families in Serrane and to strengthen the community's resilience in the face of climate change. At this point, I'd like to invite the project representatives to the stage to receive a check from TDB Group for this project. It is a grant. It's a modest grant, but something that speaks to the spirit of what we would like to champion and be promoting. In this regard, can the project representatives make their way? And I would also like TDF board members, Professor Oliver Sasa and Director Isabel Sumar, to join us together with Mary Kamari, Executive Director of TDF, so that we can have a moment and give this modest check, but important check, to this deserving project. I hope the check is ready and signed. So I'll stay here. Yes, sure.
Your Excellency Adrino Afonso Maleani, Prime Minister of the Republic of Mozambique. Professor Juguna Dungu, former Cabinet Secretary of the National Treasury of Economic Planning of the Republic of Kenya, and outgoing Chairperson of the TDB Group of Board of Governors. Your Excellency Ernesto Max Elias Tonela, Minister of Economy and Finance of the Republic of Mozambique, who is the TDB Group incoming chairperson and the host governor. Your Excellency Razak Maiki, Mayor of the City of Maputo, Your Excellency Albert Muchanga, Commissioner for Trade and Industry, the African Union Commission. Excellencies, honorable ministers and governors of the TDB Group, Mr. Admas Tadase, the Group President and Managing Director of the Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank Group, Dr. Adesina, President of the African Development Bank Group, distinguished members of the media, can I add all protocols observed. In my capacity as the board chairperson of the Trade and Development Fund, which is the TDB Group's concessional window and a grant window, I'm delighted to be presenting, as we've just done, the grant from the TDB Group, jointly with Mary Kamari here, our TDB Executive Director and the TDB Group Corporate Affairs, and the Investor Relations Executive. This speaks directly to what we've just performed here, and recognition, as the President has indicated, of the importance of corporate social responsibility in our group, in recognizing worthy causes that speak directly to the D in the TDB, the development dimension. The project for the installation of solar water pumping systems for irrigation and agricultural fields and cattle drinking in Salane addresses some of the critical challenges faced by the communities due to climate change, including the seasonal nature of their primary water sources and the high cost and environmental impact of diesel water pumps. By providing a solar water pumping system to this community, additional water storage tanks, and the necessary irrigation infrastructure, as a bank, we aim to enhance food security, increase household incomes, and also increase the economic capacity of women in that community. This project, we come to understand as a bank, not only reduces greenhouse gas emissions, but also creates jobs, improves education by exempting children from labor-intensive activities, and ensures safe water collection. It also contributes to the several United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, including zero hunger, no poverty, gender equality, and climate action. We believe as a group that this support will significantly improve the quality of life for the 1,570 families in Salane and destroying the community's resilience against the challenges that are associated with climate change. By providing a solar water pump, additional water storage tanks, and the necessary irrigation infrastructure, we as a group aim to enhance food security, improve household income, and also empower women economically. This project not only reduces greenhouse gas emissions, but also does create jobs, improves education outcomes, and ensures safe water collection. Our commitment today contributes to several United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, including the reduction in hunger and poverty. In our view, our support, as extended a while ago, is expected to improve the quality of life of as many as 1,570 families in this locality, and also strengthen the resilience of the communities against the challenges that were usually associated with climate change, which is a global phenomenon whose response to is expected, and we want to be an integral part of those that are trying to make a difference. Within this, I would like to invite, well, we have already done this. Perhaps at this moment, I would like to say thank you very much for those that have been an integral part of this effort. The bank, as the President has indicated, is here, and we are ready and willing to step in when the call of duty demands, because we are an integral part of the development story, especially in the context of positive response, the challenges that are brought by climate change. And I thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Sasa. For those of you who don't know, Professor Sasa has been a chairman of the bank itself, as chairman of the board of directors, and was a member of the board for a good 7-8 years before he moved on to the Trade and Development Fund and is now leading the board there. So thank you, sir, very much, and I thank you all very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Professor Sasa. As you rightly say, the bank continues to be a responsible bank, and we support our countries every year that we hold our AGM. Mr. President, thank you for the reminder about the environment and challenges faced by our member states. But despite all those challenges, we continue to deliver results, but also maintain our rating. Thank you very much. Now I'll ask my colleagues to have the President, Dr. Akinum Adeshina, the President of the African Development Bank, to give his remarks on the video. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, Board of Governors of the Trade and Development Bank Group, I would like to express my gratitude to my brother Admasu Tadesse, President and Managing Director of the East and Southern Africa Trade and Development Bank Group, for inviting me to make opening remarks at your annual general meeting for 2024. I wish that I could be there with you in person. Nonetheless, I am delighted to join you via this video message. I wish to first and foremost congratulate you on the excellent progress being made by the Trade and Development Bank Group under the sterling leadership of Admasu Tadesse. I am proud, and indeed very proud, of the Trade and Development Bank Group. On the sidelines of the African Development Bank Group's annual meetings, in May 2024 in Nairobi, Kenya, the African Banker Awards Ghana dinner was held, and Admasu was selected as the African Banker of the Year 2024. Congratulations again, Admasu. Well done. Other accolades of the Trade and Development Bank Group include African Association of Development Finance Institutions Award in 2024 for being rated A+ in the 2023 AADFI PSG-RS rating. The EMEA Finance Award for the best ECA syndicated loan in 2024. And the Global Finance Trade and Supply Chain Finance Awards for the best bank for trade finance in emerging markets in 2024. Bravo! I would like to highly commend the Board of Directors, management and staff of the Trade and Development Bank Group for this exemplary work. It is very good to see the Trade and Development Bank Group stepping up its commitment to sustainability and climate financing through green equity investments and strong alliances with development finance partners. In this regard, the African Development Bank is delighted to have been the pioneering investor catalyzing your new class of thematic capital, green shares. The African Development Bank is now replicating this innovative capital structure with other African development finance institutions. We are also pleased that the Trade and Development Bank Group is expanding its partnerships to include the World Bank and the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, as it seeks to deepen its activities in sustainability and climate financing. It is important to recognize that the primary mandate of the Trade and Development Bank Group is to address market failures in trade finance. I applaud the bank group's efforts in helping to bridge severe gaps in access to trade finance in Africa's least developed economies. This role is increasingly being recognized as the African Development Bank Group has now been joined by the World Bank and the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, as well as the European Investment Bank, in providing wholesale trade finance facilities through the Trade and Development Bank Group in Africa. You can be assured of the strong support of the African Development Bank for the Trade and Development Bank Group as it continues to pursue and drive this institutional mandate. And that support is significant. The African Development Bank was a founding shareholder in the Trade and Development Bank Group with 7% of its share capital. The Trade and Development Bank Group is the largest single client exposure of the African Development Bank. And we have co-financed a few transformative projects, including the Lake Turkana Wind Power Project, Globelec Menangai Geothermal Energy Project, the Buseruka Hydropower Project, and the Prime Meridian Shipyard Project. We should all continue to strongly support the Trade and Development Bank Group's innovations to adapt and to reposition itself to have more transformational impact in trade finance-related areas in Africa. We also encourage the Trade and Development Bank Group's introduction of hybrid capital, as we have successfully done globally at the African Development Bank, where our landmark issuance of $750 million of hybrid capital has helped to create this important asset class for institutional investors globally. The inclusion of hybrid capital will allow the Trade and Development Bank Group to continue to refine its capital structure to optimize its own positioning. The African Development Bank takes a special interest in the Trade and Development Bank Group, as we see it as a strategic partner in our efforts to accelerate the delivery of our high five priorities for Africa: to light up and empower Africa, to feed Africa, to industrialize Africa, to integrate Africa, and to improve the quality of life of the people of Africa. Our strategic partnership, of course, is bearing good fruits in Africa, but we all need to do a lot more. This is especially so, given myriads of external shocks impacting Africa, the layering of significant risks, and their cumulative, or let me say aggregated, adverse impacts on our regional member countries and, of course, the private sector. Your Excellencies, in this regard, I would like to highlight 3 areas for consideration of the Board of Governors. First, to consolidate on a stellar performance, it is critical that the Trade and Development Bank Group remains focused on its core mandate of bridging the trade finance gap in Africa. It should continue to reform and to innovate, to be more transformational and impactful in this space. As a stellar performing development finance institution, the Trade and Development Bank Group should avoid the risk of broadening beyond its areas of comparative advantage. These potential risks of emission creep should be avoided. Second, as trade financing for energy and refined petroleum products are financed through government borrowings or exposure in some countries, we understand that the Trade and Development Bank Group will have government exposure in some countries, including those experiencing debt distress. It is important for the Trade and Development Bank Group to only resort to the tools available to it, whether through treaty or charter. But it should be cautious on collaborative advocacy for certain status that it does not qualify for, such as preferred creditor status. Of course, we are sensitive to your financial sustainability and would like to encourage you to prioritize selectivity, responsible lending practices, while staying within the bank group's proven area of comparative advantage. Third, I would like to acknowledge and to appreciate the Trade and Development Bank Group for its strategic partnership with the African Development Bank on the African Investment Forum. The African Investment Forum was established by the African Development Bank and its partners, which includes the Africa Export and Import Bank, Africa Finance Corporation, Development Bank of Southern Africa, Trade and Development Bank, the European Investment Bank, and the Islamic Development Bank. In its 5 years since its establishment, the African Investment Forum has helped to secure investment interest worth over $180 billion to Africa. The African Investment Forum, which we have collectively developed, will continue to be critical for Africa as we seek to expand investments to the continent. I wish to thank you, my dear brother Abmasu, again for your leadership on the African Investment Forum. I look forward to our shared commitment to assure its continued success and sustainability. And of course, I look forward to a very successful 2024 African Investment Forum Market Days from the 4th to the 6th of December 2024 in Rabat, Morocco. Your Excellencies, the Trade and Development Bank Group has firmly established itself as a well-respected and impactful development finance institution in Africa. We applaud you for what you have achieved. There is so much to do together for Africa. So, let me fully assure you of the continued unflinching support of the African Development Bank Group for the Trade and Development Bank Group. I wish you continued success. Thank you very much.
I think President Adesina deserves another round of applause. My sister, Swazi Shabarara, Senior Vice President, a message to him that we deeply appreciate your support, you being not only a shareholder, a founding shareholder, but a strategic partner. So thank you very much for always supporting us. Thank you. We now turn to the video of another strategic partner, the World Bank. We'll hear from Dr. Victoria Kwakwa, Vice President, Eastern and Southern Africa, World Bank Group.
I'm so sorry I can't be with you in person today for the TDB Group's 39th Annual General Meeting in Maputo, Mozambique. But as the World Bank Group, we're keen to renew our appreciation and commitment to the strong partnership between our institutions that has expanded since 2020 and continues to grow. Our partnership began in earnest in 2020 with a unique special purpose IDA regional credit facility in the amount of $415 million focused on renewable energy and off-grid solutions. This partnership, through the Regional Infrastructure Financing Facility, laid important foundations for our ambitious objective of providing sustainable and clean energy to 150 million people in East and Southern Africa by 2030. Subsequently, the World Bank extended another facility to accelerate access to sustainable and clean energy in Africa for an amount of $300 million to scale up and support private sector investments in distributed renewable energy and clean cooking projects in TDB member countries. At the same time, MIGA also partnered with TDB through guarantee facilities to support the expansion of trade finance in TDB member countries. For several years, our sister institution, IFC, has also actively co-financed various projects with TDB, most notably in Burundi. The combined aggregate facilities from IDA and MIGA to TDB Group is close to $1.5 billion and includes new cooperation with the Trade and Development Fund, a young institution within TDB Group. The demands facing our region are many, and it is no doubt important that innovative and impactful partnerships such as ours continue to make inroads into the large financing gaps across several sectors in sustainable development. One example of another important area the World Bank is keen to expand our partnership with TDB is the affordable green housing sector that has substantial development impacts through job creation, de-risking, and mobilizing private credit, and addressing an important need that can unlock stable supply-side constraints for affordable housing in East and Southern Africa. We recognize that TDB Group is active in several fragile countries that are rife with market and institutional failures, and make every effort to support their engagement in these last-mile jurisdictions. Having a partnership between IDA and TDB is mutually beneficial on several levels, as we share the same objectives in the Africa region, in particular in some of our poorest and highest risk jurisdictions for private capital. We look forward to continue working closely with TDB Group in several new initiatives of mutual interest in the region, and wish you all the best in these annual meetings. Thank you.
Once again, a round of applause for Victoria Kwakwa at a time when we need support from such partners like World Bank. Thank you very much, Victoria Kwakwa, and I know she'll listen to this. We do appreciate that. Can I please have now Your Excellency Albert Muchanga, Commissioner for Trade and Industry, African Union Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the director of this ceremony. And I salute His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Mozambique, and the right on the very comprehensive salutations which are made by the director of ceremony, with one minor correction. I'm not the chairperson. The chairperson is my boss. I'm the commissioner at the African Union Commission. Having said that, I'll begin by deeply appreciating the invitation extended to us by the President of the Trade and Development Group for us to be at this year's annual general meetings. That invitation reflects the emerging collaboration between ourselves and the Trade and Development Group. At the professional level, I've been associated with the Trade and Development Group since its inception. Way back in December 1982, I was desk officer of the preferential trade area for Eastern and Southern Africa on the Zambian side. And through it, I was also desk officer of what was then called the PTA Bank. Now it's called the Trade and Development Group. I was an observer when the lawyers from member states were haggling on the articles of agreement of the Trade and Development Group. And today, it has grown into a very, very big institution. And the good news of its growth was highlighted by the President when he indicated in some financial terms how much the group is growing. We're also very happy that we've been well received by the people and government of Mozambique. And at the personal level, I'm partially a Mozambican, not in real terms, but through the name. Whenever I interact with the Mozambicans abroad, they don't pronounce me Muchanga. They say Mushanga. And they say Mushanga is a very popular name in Mozambique. Yesterday when I was checking in the hotel, I gave my passport to the receptionist, and the first exclamation was, "Ah, Mushanga." There are a lot of Mushangas around here. So when I retire, I think I'll come back here to see if I can find some of my relatives. Now, the president of the bank indicated some of the segments of financial insecurity that we are facing. Issues of high levels of inflation, high interest rates, and currency depreciation. We must add to this issues of base erosion and profit shifting, and the classical challenges of illicit financial flows from Africa, including the smuggling of gold. And right now, many developing countries, including those from Africa, are in a situation where their net outflows of resources from their countries to the developed countries as a result of debt servicing challenges. But that does not mean it's the end of the road. We at the African Union are very committed to promoting financial integration across Africa. Early this year, the African Multilateral Development Banks decided to set up the Alliance of African Multilateral Financial Institutions, or the Africa Club. And to show that support, 3 heads of state and government from Ghana, Kenya, and Zambia attended that launch. And the African Union was nominated to be a patron and will continue playing that role. And one of the issues which we are going to face immediately, which the President of the African Development Bank highlighted, is the challenge to preferred creditor status of our financial institutions. We as the African Union are very much concerned that if this is allowed to come into operation, it's going to undermine their balance sheets. It's going to undermine their credit ratings. And it's also going to make it very, very difficult for them to mobilize capital for on-lending to our member states. So we work very, very, very closely with the Africa Club to ensure that the preferred credit status of our financial institutions is preserved. And at the same time, through our champion on the African Union financial institutions, the President of Ghana, we are calling on all member states to allocate at least 30% of their foreign exchange reserves into the African financial institutions, the multilateral financial development banks, so that it enhances their financial base for on-lending to us. Another area where we are collaborating is a question of Africa's credit rating. Together with the African peer review mechanism, the African Export-Import Bank, and the African Development Bank, we hope before the end of this year to roll out the operation of the African Credit Rating Agency. It's going to give secondary opinions on the credit ratings. It's going to give credit ratings to borrowers within Africa. It's going to provide capacity building so that we have highly qualified capital market analysts, in addition to working with the member states to ensure that we have timely statistics, because much too often our credit rating, poor credit rating, is a result of the fact that we provide outdated economic statistics. Another key area of financial integration we are working on, in association with the African Development Bank and the Association of African Stock Exchanges, is to establish the Pan-African Stock Exchange. The first stage is to come up with the African Linkages Exchange project, through which 14 countries and 7 exchanges are coming together to promote cross-border securities trading. And we do not end here. We are also working with the central bank governors to implement the macroeconomic convergence criteria adopted by the heads of state and government in 2022, so that we promote macroeconomic convergence across Africa. And the first stage is to create the African Monetary Institute, and we hope that by next year it will be able to operate. I have a request to the financial institutions. One of the key focus areas here is the question of the green transition. Now, when we go through the green transition, there's one major challenge that Africa faces. Our carbon assets, when we are trading them, go at $5 per ton. And those of developed countries go at $100 per ton. So we are underselling our carbon sinks. So we would like to cooperate with financial institutions, including the TDB group, to ensure that we promote capacity building across Africa for member states to really come up with the very well-established capacities in carbon accounting and negotiation of carbon deals so that we do not undersell our assets. I'm not going to make a long speech, but to say we are here to support you. And as African Union, certainly rest assured of your support. You started as a regional bank. Now you've got shareholders in all the 5 regions of the world, in addition to those shareholders from abroad. And I'll end by saying that last night, I brought it to the attention of the president of the TDB group that one of his colleagues appointed me as a shareholder, and that could I be able to attend the meeting? I showed him the card, and he said, no, you're not yet a shareholder, but thank you for coming. But that being, with the way, accept that position that I'm not a shareholder, but in the not distant future, in the not too distant future, then I hope some of the dividends that you are going to declare will go to the African Union Commission. I end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner, for your statement. Commissioner, I called you Your Excellency out of respect where I come from. You'd never know from Commissioner to Your Excellency. So thank you, Commissioner. May I have the honor to now invite our host, Ernesto Tamira, Minister of Economy and Finance of the Republic of Mozambique, TDB Group incoming chairperson. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, the Prime Minister, esteemed delegates and invitees, ladies and gentlemen. This year we have the honor and we are happy to host the annual general meeting of the Bank and the Fund for Trade and Development. The president of the mayor already had the welcome remarks for everyone. The choice for this event in Mozambique is a pleasure for us, and it acknowledges our commitment for regional development and economical development. I thank the TDB Group administration, especially its chairman and its members and shareholders, for the trust given to Mozambique. We are convicted that the meetings that will take place today present itself as an opportunity to get innovative strategies that will be beneficial for all members of the group. I would invite Your Excellency for the Prime. I would invite the Prime Minister of Mozambique for his opening remarks.
I've been told to be here because you are here in Maputo, and they say, well, they want to leave Maputo having Portuguese as their own language. So I'm here to improve and make sure that when you leave, you'll be fluent in Portuguese. Senhor Ministro.
His Excellency, the Minister of Economy and Finances, Honorable Secretary of State of Maputo City, the Honorable Mayor of the Maputo City, Honorable Chairman and CEO of Group TDB Group, Honorable members of the Governor Council of TDB Group, Honorable Chairman of CTR, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everyone. We start our intervention expressing our best wishes by choosing Mozambique for the 4th General Meeting for the Governor Council for TDB Group and the 2nd General Meeting for the Governors Council for the Trade and Development Fund. To all delegates that participate to this General Annual Meeting of TDB Group 2024, we transmit and we send regards from His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Mozambique, Felipe Jacinto Nyusi, to whom I represent in this event, and we affirm our commitment with regard to the economical and social sustainable development of our countries. We wish that the discussions around the topics chosen for this meeting meet the resolution by the actions taken by the TDB Group, above all with regard to the financial, energy, and food security, contributing in this way to promote a sustainable future, green and inclusive for our countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the motto chosen for this session for Governor Meeting, Strategies for Harnessing Trade and Development to Promote Inclusive Growth and Sustainability in the Region, take us to think about to the search of joint solutions to overcome the adversities and several challenges that we face, highlighting the climate change impacts, food security, limited access to financing, tariff obstacles and non-tariff obstacles, and also diversification of our economies that are limited. These and other factors affect in a certain way our trade exchanges between our countries and around the globe, which impacts negatively on the process of our regional integration. With regard to this matter, Mozambique defends the need for all of us to make it easy the implementation of actions that meets together in order to become operational the African Continental Free Trade Zone, because this is the main route to make dynamic the intra-regional trade, and it makes robust and inclusive as well. With regard to the economical and social development process, our countries has been feeling negatively and are affected by extreme climate events, geopolitical conflicts between Ukraine and Palestine that happening in Ukraine and in Palestine. It has been impacting our economy, our country's economy, causing the destruction of economical and social infrastructures, production reduction, commercial deficit. Especially to face these challenges, we have been working with several international institutions. Such is the case of the TDB group. It would allow us to finance several initiatives on the transformation framework and for the diversification of our economy and consequently to improve the quality of life for Mozambicans. The TDB group has been conceding us financing for programs and projects on agriculture, infrastructure, energy, transport, logistic sectors, among others. On the energy sector, our country benefits a financing line of $108 million to make operational the LNG project in Cabo Delgado. It will create not only a lot of employment, but will generate a significant income for the country, allowing additional investments for infrastructures and public service. We also count equally with the support of the TDB group financial support in order to leverage the export and processing for grains and other commodities. This initiative has been making possible the increase the agricultural production for smallholder farmers. Still on the agricultural sector, the TDB group has been financing programs focused on integration of smallholder farmers in production value chains through investment in agricultural technologies that are modern and practical and sustainable, which contributes for the improvement of the production and also we become resilient to the climate changes. On the logistic and transport sector, we highlight the financing of several projects that are competing for the reinforcement of the regional economical integration, consequently improving the commercial relations between Mozambique and other hinterland countries. Ladies and gentlemen, we acknowledge the efforts carried out by the TDB group and other partners on supporting and assisting our countries in order to assure the socio-economical development which is continuous that impacts the citizens' life. However, we consider extremely important the need to continue working together to explore new opportunities and innovative solutions to accelerate the sustainable development process and inclusive for our countries. For the same, we have to think about and find holistic solutions and instruments that are structuring that would allow continuously to improve the business environment, although also to invest more and more on investigation, education, training, technical professional training in order to prepare our youth for the entrepreneurship and future. We believe that with the continuous support by the TDB group and all implementing partners and cooperation partners, we can reach our economy growth and development. Just to conclude, we address all participants' wishes for a good work and that this general meeting is crowned with a lot of successes. We also expect that at the same time that you participate on the works carried out in this event, you also enjoy the culture, the landscape, and the rich gastronomy in our country. Said that, on behalf of His Excellency the President of the Republic, I declare open the 4th General Meeting for the Governors Council of the TDB Group, and the second General Assembly of the Governors Council for the Trade and Development Fund. Thank you very much for your attention.
Muito obrigado, Your Excellency, for your statements. Thank you very much. I would like to call the speakers and the Prime Minister in front to come here for the picture. And I've been advised by the Prime Minister's office that he also wants to have a picture with everyone. And then the third picture, the Prime Minister will have a picture with our shareholders outside and TDB management. If I can have the front row, Hamiri, if you can help me to coordinate this, and Anne-Marie. Thank you very much. Can I have everyone stand, please, for the picture with the Prime Minister? Everyone in the audience, thank you very much. Thank you. If I can have everyone seated, please, and I'll have all the shareholders of TDB to go outside. Will be directed by my colleagues and senior management, and then I will come back to give some other announcement. If I can have all the shareholders, please, with the Prime Minister outside. There's a plan.